Okay, so joining Jason and I today on our special Valentine's Day episode is a man that needs no introduction aside from this one, of course. The managing partner of Choice Gatewood and Partners and the head of our mortgage banking division, Joe Gatewood.
Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah. This is something on Biagio and I've talked about since we started doing this. I guess eight episodes ago.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you came in because this is going to help us clear, in my opinion, clear some of the air, or like at least get a better idea of what's really going on out there. Because I know there's a lot of noise with what's happening in just in the world in general.
Yeah, especially from the that financing point of view, where you sort of are the expert, right? So for those who don't know what it is that you do, if you don't mind giving us a sort of snapshot on that.
Sure. Well, with Choice Gatewood and Partners, I'm managing partner, as you mentioned. What that comes with is a very specific role. All the executives on the team actually have a role, and we narrow it down to one word, right? So my word is grow, and so that's my purpose, right? My purpose is to help grow the business. But on the mortgage side, it's obviously to serve you guys and your clients, right? And to help them identify like what is the best options for them when they're looking to purchase a home. I've been doing it for 23 years, probably served over 3,500 clients.
Wow.
So it's not
bit. So you've seen
quite a bit.
probably everything
Yeah.
twice.
Sure, right? Yeah.
Okay. And Jason touched on a little bit, with the recent shifts in interest rates and, the market, the supply and demand getting a little bit out of whack over the summer. There was a lot of buyers for everything. There definitely has been a little bit of volatility, which created uncertainty and created more volatility. And the first thing that exactly, and the first thing that comes to people's minds, like you said,
there's going to be another market crash waiting for 2008, 2007 to happen all over again. And I know that there's a bubble everyone keeps talking about. It's going to pop. I'm waiting for that to happen. And based on what you've spoken with us about in the past, there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but the data or whatever, the numbers don't line up for that to happen again. Plus, like what you've told us before, there's a lot of stipulations and certain things that come into place to stop that from happening.
Right. Could you maybe share your insight on maybe and compare the current market to the 2008 market for us?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. First of all, I definitely don't want that to happen again.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't a fun time to live through.
Yeah.
It was tough. I remember sitting in the office and having people come in and they're just like, what do I do? And people are just leaving their homes. It's completely different. We can get into that, but it's so much different today. Like today, statistically, and I checked these stats a couple months ago, but at that point, 40% of all homes in the United States are owned with cash today. Even more staggering to me is that over 92% of homes today have at least 15% equity. So, which is completely different from back in 2007, 2008, right? So, what happened? Obviously people talk about the subprime market and the causes and the types of loan programs. But when people didn't have equity in their homes, then they would just leave them. It's amazing how many homes like Troyce and I went into where people just destroyed the house and they just walked away, right?
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah, it was amazing, right? And it all stemmed because the ease of ability to get financing, right? Back then, everything was so unregulated, and there are programs that don't exist today.
Basically, show up, sign a piece of paper, and you got a house.
Well, yeah, some of the popular ones were stated income, stated asset loans, right?
So I just have to tell you I make $10,000 a month. And
I make $10,000 a month. I got $100K in the bank. Cool, sign here, right?
It could be good. It could be bad. You could kind of see how that might go wrong.
Yeah, a lot of adjustable rate mortgages, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we started seeing those go up. There were programs out there where people they get a loan, but they're only obligated to pay 1% interest each month So the remaining amount that is due that month would just be added onto their principal. So you buy a home for $400,000, a year later you owe $425,000.
Yeah.
Right? Rather than it going down, right? It's going up, right? There's actually even loans where you could get 125% financing. I mean, isn't that crazy? I mean, think about that.
125% financing.
Yeah. Now,
Literally.
I never offered those products, but but seriously, I mean, people were doing that. So,
right.
And again, it was so easy for people to go from buy one house and the next house and the next house because it was all unregulated.
Right.
And people were just leaving. And the challenge is once we start seeing people not being able to continue to pay their mortgage because rates were going up because they had the adjustable rate or whatever, they start short selling. Why do they short sell? Because they have no equity.
Right?
Yeah. And back then, if you're just a regular homeowner and you're moving because of a job and you're just going to sell your home, right? They would say back then, well, the value of your house or your sellability, we're not going to use the short sales or the foreclosures to kind of compare to justify the price of your house. Well, that was so short-lived, right? Because eventually all of that blended in. So even those homeowners that were looking to move, who had equity, initially and were in a good position, they were in a tough spot because, their house went from a value of 400 to 340, 350, lost all the equity.
Because everybody in the neighborhood, the surrounding homes just went foreclosure or short sales, and they had to base that off. That's insane.
Just self-perpetuating, and where does it end? And obviously we know how the end of that story is, right? The government came in, they sort of had to bail everybody out, right?
Yeah.
What was that all like? And kind of how did you feel that was going to be? Did you think that was going to be a end-all, be-all? Did you think it was going to be a Band-Aid on the problem? Or what were you thinking when you saw that happening?
Like, we saw 40% of our industry leave the industry, both in real estate and mortgages. They left the industry to go do something else. And, it was tough. I mean, it was tough for us, because, people weren't able to refinance. They weren't able to purchase. So it was just tough on us as a business. So I was happy that that changes were made. I do remember going to our first couple of conferences when the government had stepped in and they had made some major changes. And, kind of the R around the room was, this is too much, this is too hard, it's too harsh, right? But I actually think it was all good. It's just that sometimes people have a hard time with change, right? We've been doing it this way forever. Now we can't. We have to take all these extra steps to be able to provide somebody a mortgage. It's so much better because we're in a totally different situation today. Like if somebody says, are we going to have a 2007, 2008 again right now? I'm like, no. And the reason is from what I said. First of all, that predatory lending, I'm sure there's still some crooked things going on these days, but not to the degree back then, right? I mean, outside of VA loans and USDA loans, pretty much you have to have a down payment, right?
Yep.
That's what it seems
Stated
like.
incomes, stated assets doesn't exist, right? The ARM products are definitely not as popular or being used like they were before. So it's completely different, right?
Because I know that whenever I find a new buyer, I try to send them over to you or Matt or whomever, you guys send us over we have to send them over essentially a list of documents that you're going to ask them about to prepare them for that conversation.
Which has, I assume, gotten longer and longer over the years. And you kind of touched a little bit on that. So, how has that 2008 crisis impacted the lending industry, and what measures have been put in place to sort of prevent it from happening again? Because ultimately that's the goal, right? We don't want to see a repeat.
Everyone's freaking out. I can't tell you how many conversations we have. I want to wait because I think it's going to be 2008 over again, or I want to wait because there's going to be more foreclosures, or I want to wait because that bubble's going to pop.
And you don't want to just tell them, no, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. But there has been big changes that have been made since then. And what are they, and what are they doing to prevent that from happening again?
Yeah. Well, first of all, people, you had mentioned waiting as well, right? Wanting to wait.
Mm-hmm.
That's because why? They see the prices rising so much and interest
Sure.
rates high.
Yeah, because they're afraid that everything's getting inflated, and they're just from what I hear that everything's just inflated, so they're expecting something to pop and crash,
right,
and they just come falling down,
and they feel that's the opportunity.
And I think that because I have had a couple of conversations where everyone's just waiting for those foreclosures and short sales, so that way they can come in and get a deal, or they're waiting for the prices to start dropping for that.
Right, but if you look at the number of people that are locked into 30-year fixed mortgages, right, their payment's not going to change, right? So what's going to force them? Now we can talk about inflation. Sure, it's costing more for goods and services these days, but is that going to cause somebody not to be able to pay their mortgage at such a degree that we're going to have this mass exodus and all these people sell? And not only that, are they going to sell with no equity? Like, if you've owned a home for the last year, your value is probably higher than it was a year ago, right? 2 years, even greater. I mean, right? So people are actually in a much better position. But back to your question, Biagio, it's like, what have they really put into place? They've really eliminated that whole subprime opportunity, and they've regulated so many things, right? So, as I mentioned before, you actually have to have a pulse first to be able to buy. Right?
Yeah.
Back then, honestly, didn't know, right? Just sign name. I mean, there were these things called straw buyers, right? We could go there, but I mean, there were so many things that ways that people could buy back then that really were not smart, right?
And it's funny when you think about it now, because it seems so obvious now in hindsight, but nobody wants to stop the party when there's money to be made and wheels to be turned.
It still blows my mind when I hear about what actually happened and how things went down back then. Because I mean, not throwing my age around, but I was still in, I just got out of high school at that point in time. So I had no idea that would happen. And then I got into real estate, saw the movie The Big Short several times to understand it. Yeah. And it just was like, wow. Like you were saying, people were just leaving their houses, trashing it. And it was like a ghost town.
Nothing. Yeah. Watching the stock market crash day in and day out, unprecedented. And it's like there was no end in sight. And then, everybody looked toward the lending industry and the housing market as, the lead cause of all of that. And again, in hindsight, it's like an easy fix, and this is not a good thing, and it shouldn't be in place. And it seems like all of that has been taken care of, and it's a lot. And as you know, right, it's not a simple process to buy a house. It's not an easy thing. There are a lot of steps before steps, and then more, right? So what do you feel are some of the biggest challenges for buyers basically today?
Yeah.
And how are you advising them to sort of navigate those challenges?
Yeah, a couple things. One would be the media. That's one of the biggest challenges. Like, you didn't live through the crash in 2007, 2008. Like, you weren't a homeowner. You weren't
Not at all.
Right. But you're like just so many other home buyers these days. Mm-hmm. So where are they getting this information? Where are they coming up with the idea that we're going to have this incredible crash? Through the media.
Right.
Yep,
right.
So same thing,
so that is the danger, right? Now, if you think back, did people make money back then in 2007 and 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were there people that made money in the real estate market? Totally. We did a lot of flips leading up to that. We bought and sold about 3 dozen homes in the early 2000s. And we're doing it again today. So why would we be doing that today, right? If knowing what we know, having lived through it, knowing what could possibly happen, if we felt that we're kind of in that same position, we wouldn't be doing the things, investing the way that we're investing today. But the reason, we've been there and we have the statistics, but most important for home buyers today, they just need to understand they can't go into this alone, right? They need you guys, right? And that's the benefit, right? Because you're here sharing information, but also learning. And you guys are doing an incredible job. You've got the market expertise. I mean, you coming from Wall Street, which actually provides a whole nother level. Like most real estate agents don't come from your type of background, right? Yeah, but your ability to kind of analyze things and really helping your client, in this environment, that's key.
Doesn't help with the small talk, right? But when it's time to talk numbers, at least you're right. Yeah. I feel it's.
It's great too.
But that's so important because, like they say, everybody knows a realtor, right? Sure. It's like I want to use my my brother's best friend, and no offense, right? But are you going to go do surgery on your knee with your brother's best friend because he's your brother's best friend? Or are you going to research the best?
That right there might be the best thing to come out of this room in terms of a commercial. I think we got to put that on a t-shirt. We got to put that at the front of the advertisement. That right there, isolate it, clip it. We're keeping that one.
Yeah, that's it. No, but seriously, right? I mean, you just don't hire a realtor to hire a realtor. Like, know who you're hiring, interview them.
Yeah, you need someone with, like you said, the market expertise, who knows what they're doing, knows all the situations that could possibly come up, and especially finding the right situation for you as the buyer. Because again, they could just think that they're affording like a $500,000 house, but we need them to speak with you more than anything else, because we need to make sure, A, well, are you qualified? And B, if you are you comfortable with what that monthly payment's going to look like? And then doing what we can to find that house for them.
Right.
Because it's just so volatile, because every area is different, right? Like, you got different property taxes. I mean, city limits of Frederick are so much different property taxes than what they are in surrounding areas.
And we talked a lot about that in the other episodes. Not only the expertise, but also getting along and knowing and liking and trusting. You're going to be spending a lot of time with these people, and I'm glad that you brought that back up, because I think it's one of the most important steps. And if we can get anything across, it would be, hey, come sit with us, talk to us, and give us a shot. And if you don't like us, and you don't want to get to know us, no problem. But at least you can trust us. 1 out of 3 ain't bad. So to sort of wrap this all up, and we definitely want some feedback from the audience at the end to make sure that we covered all topics, right? If there's anything we haven't touched on yet or at the end of this, please comment below, send us a message, let us know. If there's any questions for Jason or I, or for Joe.
Joe even, right?
Yep. Just comments below.
Yeah, because we need to know if there's any feedback, again, if there's something we didn't cover, or if there's something specific that you have a question about with your scenario. We may have an answer for you, so we want to make sure that we get that covered. So.
Definitely have an answer for you, and if we don't have one, we're gonna get it.
We'll definitely get one. Right? Yes, we'll get one for sure.
The one thing that everybody wants to know is the one question that cannot be answered, right? What's going to happen next? That's what everybody wants to know, and kind of the way that you see the market moving, the economy moving. Where do you see, or how do you see the housing market evolving in the near future? And what impact do you think it'll have on buyers and sellers going forward?
Yeah. Well, if I truly knew the answer, I wouldn't be here. I'd be on an island.
That's right. Exactly. But that's the only thing people want to know. What's happening next?
What's going to happen
Just tell me.
This spring? What's the market going to be like, Jason?
The only question worth asking is speculation.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. One is, we see the bump in interest rates, right? And the prediction is that rates are going to kind of stay at this higher level than a year ago, and maybe continue to decline throughout the year. Maybe in early 24, mid 24, we'll start seeing rates kind of fall back down. We'll see a new norm. I'm hoping it's going to be around that 5, hopefully maybe high 4%, 4.5, 4.75 rate. But in the meantime, what we're finding is that there's less homes on the market because of that. And it's because, there's certain types of families that have to move, job relocation or whatever, but there's plenty of people that want to move just for their personal benefit, right? My family is growing, and I like to have an extra bedroom or whatever those reasons are, but they don't want to leave that 3% interest rate that they have.
That's right.
We hear that a lot.
Right.
It's tough.
Right. So because of that, we're going to still see kind of that shortage on homes for sale. But there's still plenty of buyers out there. Right. So it's going to remain relatively competitive. But because of that, I don't see how is the market going to how home prices going to crash if the supply is low and the demand is high.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It can't. It cannot. Right. Once it gets to a certain level, there's going to be another market, and there's going to be people ready to absorb it. They've been waiting, and it doesn't matter what their motivation is. It doesn't matter if they missed the boat. It doesn't matter if they're brand new. It doesn't matter. They're there, and the market data is showing us that. There is strong demand at certain levels.
I mean, even if we covered this previously last week, which is it kind of led us into today, was showing that with the broker metrics that they're still showing we're in a high seller's market, because there's only maybe 2.5 months of inventory just left. Like we're nowhere near that transition, and after the transition, then it gets into a
and the one thing that is the most important thing to know is that you're not going to get a crash in interest rates and a crash in prices. That's if we're getting a crash in interest rates and in prices, then we got much bigger problems. Because that means that means a $500,000 house is now at $300,000 and they couldn't sell it, meaning that there's nobody to buy it and they're selling it for $200,000. It's not going to happen. So you can't have both. The time to buy is I think you guys could agree is when you're ready to make that decision. You meet with a lender, you meet with a realtor, you put a plan in place, and then you follow the steps. And I think, to tack on to that, if there's anything, Joe, if you think that if there's anything that any other advice or anything else you feel would be helpful to anyone listening or watching?
Yeah. Well, you guys are getting the question asked a lot. I get the question asked a lot, or the comment, maybe I should wait. Right. We talk about that, right?
Sure.
And, I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday. We're going through a scenario. They're looking to purchase a certain home. I identify how much cash they have and then what kind of loan program we could put them in. And they said, well maybe I'll wait. And I said, okay, great. Tell me the purpose. And the purpose for a lot of people like them was if I save more money for a larger down payment. And I said, okay, so let's just take a look at this, right? Right now today, you'll pay about $6 for every $1,000 that you borrow. So you want to wait until you save $30,000 more, right? Well, if you had $30,000 more today, then it'd be $180 less in payment, right? So how long is it going to take you to raise or save $30,000 to put $30,000 down more to hope to get $180 less payment?
Right.
Okay, how long is that going to take? Okay, so now that we know about how long that's going to take, let's figure out what could happen in the market between now and then. Like, let's say interest rates go up 0.25%. Well, that's going to jump your payment up about $160. So did we accomplish what we tried to accomplish?
Right.
Or maybe that house that you're looking to buy is now priced at about $25,000 more by the time you're ready to buy. So, it's a question that I'm asked all the time is, maybe I should wait, and more often than not, there's not a really good enough reason.
Right. And not to mention renting, the price that the money that you save and the money that you spend, the quarter point, the fluctuations in the market. But every month, if you're spending $1,500 a month, that's $1,500 less that you're putting in the bank for yourself. And if those rates go up or whatever happens with the landlord situation, he could be raising that rent $100 or $200 the next month, and there goes that extra $200 you were saving. So all your best plans are still at the at the mercy of outside forces, of things you can't control. So waiting is a tricky game. Trying to time the market. Is there anybody that can time the market perfectly?
No.
Okay.
And also like understanding the benefit of the tax benefit. So yes, I have a higher rate, right? But say on my $3,000 a month mortgage, $2,000 of that is interest and property taxes. I have a much larger tax deduction than I did on my previous home, right? And what does that mean? Depending on their tax bracket and are you a W-2 employee? Like what's that benefit at the end of the year? So we get into that as well. And I often will see like people, listen, you could be getting a $10,000 refund at the end of the year. Well, what is that? That's equivalent to roughly about $800 a month, right?
Sure.
Offset that mortgage. So it's also something else to consider. Yes, you have a high rate, but so does you have a higher deduction.
Right.
And rates will be up here, and you're not buying 100%. You have equity, so when rates do drop down, right, you'll be positioned to refinance. At that time, right? So
there's an opportunity
there's just a lot of things to consider.
Sure.
Right? It's not just about the rate. If people are waiting just for the rate to drop, they just don't have enough knowledge. That's why they need to get with an expert and kind of figure out the plan.
What's most important and how to get that. And and I think that answers a lot of big questions out there. And I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
Yeah. I think so. And I knew one thing I do want to do, like a little bit of a plug for you here, Joe, too. You mentioned refinance,
Yes.
so I just want to throw out a plug that you are specifically getting something ready called what? Refi Ready?
Refi Ready,
That's right. So that way, whenever interest rates do start coming down and you locked in and say at that 7% last year, and you see things start coming down again, sounds like you're prepared for it, right?
Yeah.
You got something in place.
Yeah, great. Yeah, please let us know where, or let the viewers know, the listeners know, where they can find more information about you, where they can find that Refi Ready information, and any other projects or promotions or special things that you're working on.
Yeah. Well, they can definitely go to our company website, troysgatewood.com, and you'll find under resources our Refi Ready program. It's a great program because it's designed. All you're going to do is put in the information is what interest rate you're interested in, or what monthly savings you're interested in. And it goes in, and we have an algorithm. You'll be triggered once rates come down, so you don't have to watch the market yourself.
Right.
Like, we'll get notification when that rate hits and contact you. And if we can help you with a refinance, great. Or if you're going to your preferred lender, whatever it is, but at least you're positioning yourself to be able to take advantage of the market once it does break and rates come down.
That's a great service.
Cool. It's awesome. Yeah, like just go ahead and sign up right now, and then you're locked in. And then whenever things start coming down, you get notified and go from there.
Yeah, that's big. That's real big. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the link to that below, as well as the contact information for Joe Gatewood, Choice Gatewood and Partners website. And if you guys have any questions, comments, anything, send the DMs. Bearded Realtors Instagram coming soon. We're going to put that down there.
Yeah, we realized it may be a lot easier if we had a shared Instagram here.
That's right.
But yeah, like you said, shoot us a message. Let us know, because if we don't know, we don't know. So if there's anything that you are missing or we are missing that you need, shoot us a message.
Yep.
Let's do it.
And cut. Wrap it up.